In the last two podcasts, we've discussed the physical evolution of technology and the interconnectivity between technological artifacts. Today we'll be diving deeper into the impacts of technology on our society, the environment, and the ethical implications that come with the advancement of technology. Through the examination and comparison of this module's sources, we will determine which author's argument was most effective in proving or disproving the relationship between technology and society. In Robert McGinn's chapter of Technology and Society, he takes a more technical approach to the discussion, breaking down the various factors of determining technological rights and the types of scientific and technological ethical issues that have risen as a result of the evolution of technology. While informative and helpful to understand Sclove and Washkman's essays in Society, Ethics, and Technology, McGinn's discussion on society and technology didn't offer opinion as much as it offered in-depth explanation of the 8 types of ethical conflicts and the basic considerations that need to be taken when determining technological rights. The first ethical conflict McGinn discusses is violations of established world orders, and explains that the use of technology in a way that is disruptive to natural occurrences can be seen as unethical due to the changing of the course of how things would happen naturally. One of the examples he uses is in vitro and artificial insemination, and how they could be considered an unethical use of technology due to the effects on the integrity of the ecosystem, and asks the reader to consider the long-term effects. As I reread my notes on McGinn's essay, it became apparent to me that the ethical conflicts and impacts of technology on society built off of one another. In the case of his stance on in vitro potentially being a violation of established world orders, for the sake of this discussion, let's say the long-term consequence of in vitro is overpopulation. This consequence can be seen in the distribution of technology-related benefits and how we determine the allocation of things like medicine, diagnostic tests, and procedures when the demand is higher than the supply. As we move through the list of ethical conflicts, the overpopulation caused by in vitro example can be seen again in regards to the infliction of harm without prior consent, when taking into consideration the impacts of multi-generational pollution, and how centuries of pollution are not only impacting our environment in substantial ways, but also impacting future generations and their quality of life. This also ties into public harms of aggregation and actions carried out by large amounts of people being harmful socially and environmentally. McGinn uses the example of the aggregated effects of increased carbon emissions on air quality and ultimately the impact it has on at-risk individuals. However, we can trace it back even further with the example of in vitro and relate the increase of carbon emissions to overpopulation caused by the use of technology. The relationship between the concept of violations of established world orders and aggregated effects in terms of the in vitro example is particularly interesting to me because not only does it exemplify cause and effect, but it ultimately comes full circle. If mass amounts of women utilize in vitro or artificial insemination because they cannot become pregnant naturally, natural worldly order is disrupted, causing an increase in population. More people means more cars and more carbon emissions, which are harmful to the air quality and thus harmful to at-risk individuals such as small children. The same small children that may have been conceived by IVF or IUI. Even more interestingly, a study published in the National Library of Medicine in 2018 suggests that one of the long-term effects of air pollution is infertility. As we move into Washkman's essay in Society, Ethics, and Technology, the topic of in vitro in regards to feminist theory will pose a different and unexpected stance. The premise of Washkman's essay focused on her opinion that society and technology share a symbiotic relationship, that society would not exist without technology and technology would not exist without society, and how this is proven by the role gender plays in the evolution of technology. In regards to the inextricable relationship between society and technology, Washkman refers to Manuel Castell's argument that information is the key ingredient of social organization, and flows of messages and images between networks constitute the basic thread of social structure. Essentially, it is being argued that the network of information that is needed to form societal structure would not be possible without technology, and in turn, there would be no need for the utilization of technology for communication without the inherent need for humans to have social structure. Washburn later goes on to discuss how gender plays a role in this concept and uses Western medicine as an example, being a historically male-dominated field, and how, as a result, women were cast as inferior to men in regards to biology and medicine, which led to the creation of gynecology, and women seemingly needing a specific type of medical care as they were seen as only being useful for reproduction. As the feminist movement was born, women began questioning their inferiority to men and whether that was really true. And in regards to women's role in technology, feminists identified that men's monopoly of technology as an important source of their power. Women's traditional lack of technological skills is an important element in their dependence on men. Upon further analysis of this concept, it became apparent to the feminist movement that technological artifacts and industries that heavily rely on technology, such as medicine, can be encoded by gender, physically and symbolically. As a result, modern feminist theory around technology emphasizes that gender is not fixed prior to social interaction, but is shaped within interaction. Another feminist theory that is important to note in response to McGinn's violation of established world orders is the concept that, in terms of bodily alterations, there is no such thing as unethical use of technology that is disruptive to our natural state of being, because our bodies as they are today are a result of technology. I found this connection very interesting and important to note because it brought to light the fact that due to technological evolution as a whole, the human body as it is perceived today is drastically different from its origins due to technological advancements. This theory goes back to Washburn's argument that technology and society share a symbiotic relationship and that one would not exist without the other. Without technology, humans would not have evolved, and without humans, technology would not have evolved. This argument contrasts to Sklove's argument in I'd Hammer Out Freedom. Richard Sklove takes a different stance in his essay, claiming that while technology influences society, it is not the sole determining factor in how society develops or the human experience. Sklove argues that technologies can help regulate social behavior because they themselves are regulated, for example, laws pertaining to guns or automobiles, but that social structure is not defined by the use of technology, but as the features that define and regulate human interaction. One example Sklove uses in discussing his argument is the polypotency of technologies such as the hammer. While originally intended to pound nails into other materials, the human experience is much more than just that. There are other impacts of using a hammer than just pounding nails, such as experiencing sore muscles or increased heart rate from the action of hammering nails. While those were not the intended effects of the creation of the hammer, exercising the body is an unintentional result of using a hammer. Similarly, during the Industrial Revolution, seeing a billowing smokestack on the horizon of an up-and-coming city was a symbol of progress. However, today it is a symbol of the hazardous impacts of technological evolution on our environment. One technology, two completely different perceptions, and because of these differing perceptions of technology in different contexts, Sklove claims that while technology helps shape and regulate society, they do not fully determine social experiences. Thus, society is not dependent on technology to exist, but merely utilizes technology to enhance society and regulate human behaviors. When examining the astrolabe, the galleon, and the chronometer in terms of Sklove's argument, each artifact played a role in a bigger picture than just their intended use. The astrolabe was originally constructed as a latitude tool, but played a role in the construction of Mecca. The mechanical galleon, constructed as a decoration, was representative of the technological evolution of shipbuilding in Europe, and the chronometer, intended for accurate timekeeping, influenced trade and global expansion. So, going back to the initial question driving this analysis, which author was most persuasive in their argument? While I personally enjoyed reading Sklove's essay the most in the moment, upon further thought on McGinn and Washburn's essays, the ideas and theories they discussed resonated with me more and sparked a deeper reflection and critical thinking. Ultimately, I can't say whether I agree with one or the other, but I do find the relationship and interconnectivity between the two deeply fascinating. Thank you.